Who is behind a potential gun registry inside City Hall? The controversy has mayor and former mayor pointing fingers while the state attorney investigates. Is that a symptom of deeper division within leadership in Jacksonville? Councilman Matt Carlucci offers his perspective and why he thinks it's critical for the city to change. Plus, it seems like a step in the direction of a new jail, a proposal for a public-private partnership. Ashley Harding sharing the story she broke this week. And Brooks Law in Florida may be a template for federal legislation. Brooke Curry joins us to talk about what happened and why she pushed for change on This Week in Jacksonville. Thanks so much for being with us. At-large City Councilman Matt Carlucci joining us today. And Councilman, I've got three topics, but I want to start with a meeting that you've called for tomorrow, for Monday. You sent a letter saying that you want to speak with your colleagues about council leadership. Maybe tell us about why right now it goes to the calendar of choosing new leadership in council.
Well, part of my concern has been we, over the last few years, have had very little competition for leadership. Generally, there's a couple of council people that run for vice president, and whoever wins that usually goes on to become council president. But we have not had that, and I think there's a lot of council members, including myself, that are quietly frustrated by it. And I think that with the 2 years I have left, I'd like to get the get this procedure back on track, because you have better leadership when you have competition, when the council has members have two people to pick from. But it's become, in my view, almost like a succession of leadership, and so there's no challenges, and some council members that are running, they've already got the votes wrapped up before they even
any discussion of their candidacy.
Any discussion.
You were a council president
yes, sir.
in city council. How is this different than what you experienced?
Well, when I ran for vice president, which is the first step to getting president, I won that 10-9. So it was a very rigorous, intramural campaign of council members, and the other council member was a great council member, and he and I are very dear friends to this day. But it gave the other council members a way to look at two different ways of governing. And the person that challenged me, or I challenged him, he would have been a fine council president, I'm sure, if I hadn't been on top of the votes. But it just seems like there's a group that kind of a clique that pretty much is in control of a lot of things that happen downtown, and then there's a group that's kind of left out. I would just like to see us begin to take the partisanship out, because partisanship, I have said forever, I don't believe it belongs in local politics. What belongs in local politics is caring about your constituents, your community. You got to wear a hat of a fidelity hat, but you also got to have a visionary hat on, and then you got to be willing to serve your constituents.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, because in your letter about the meeting on Monday, you said, lately I've been deeply concerned by the pattern of tone and partisanship being exhibited by those in line for leadership. So why is that important to change?
Well, this is my concern about that, is the political posturing over certain issues, from this gun issue that it's being investigated by the state attorney, and other issues, and kind of what happened the other night with the students. It's divisive. A council, whoever comes in as council president or is running for vice president, should be looked at upon as a uniter and not a divider. And so when you see some of the posts on social media and rushing to judgment on somebody's guilty, when we're waiting to see what the state attorney has to say about this gun logging that's been taking place, that leaves a lot of people very frustrated, including myself. Council President White, I think, has done a very good job this year. He doesn't get into the political fray. He doesn't get into the political fanfare. He's been very fair with the mayor. You've got to have a relationship with the mayor, and when you're council president, if we want to move the city ahead. But you can't do that when you're jumping to conclusions on her role, and this or that or the other before she even has a chance to defend herself. And that's what bothers me. That's the concern.
One of the things that bothered you recently, and I'm going to kind of skip ahead here, but students asked council members if they'd consider a resolution to support them. This is about funding decreasing, being cut in half really for advanced placement courses, these sorts of things, dual enrollment. And that night, it's almost 2 weeks ago, the students came to speak, but the resolution was voted on and voted down before they got to speak. You were pretty upset about that.
I was very upset about it because these students came to me. One of them was an intern of mine in the last quarter of 2024, very bright student from Fletcher, and they're concerned about the funding for advanced placement programming for high school. So he asked if I would introduce a resolution, supporting that. So I introduced a resolution. It was modeled exactly the way the Chamber of Commerce's resolution was, except instead of chamber, it was council, And all it said was we support advanced placement programs for our students. And so the kids were supposed to speak first.
And they're
and
pretty
then we were going to vote.
Kids too.
Yes.
They were fired up.
And I saw some of the talks they were going to give. They were going to be thanking the council for the time. And they were just kids looking to somebody that would listen to them because they haven't been listened to too much by other forms of our government in Tallahassee and so forth. At least that's how they feel. So I wanted to give them a platform. And the idea was, we would listen to them, then we would make our vote. However the vote came out wouldn't have bothered me. What bothered me was that a political tactical procedure was, a procedural tactic was used to move the bill forward before the kids had a chance to vote. And it was one of the...
When they did get to speak, it had already been voted down.
It had already been voted down. Well, the emergency had been voted down, and it was an emergency because that council meeting would be the last one before the legislature adjourns. So there was a legitimate emergency, and they're high schoolers, they're students. This is their first experience with their local government.
In general, you want to encourage that civic participation for those students, right?
Absolutely. We should be lifting up our students. We should be lifting them up and not politically blocking their future. And that's how they felt that night, and that's how I felt. And it just went against everything that I believe in as a council member, and I was not happy.
Yeah, well, like they expressed it, you got to express that too. Yeah. Councilman Matt Carlucci, thanks so much for the time today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, stay with us. And just ahead, the young local woman who has a law named after her. She's going to tell us why she took some courageous steps to call out what happened to her. Brooke Curry is our guest next on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
Thanks for staying with us today. Florida lawmakers didn't quite get the job done, failing to agree on a budget before the end of the 60-day legislative session. They'll go back in early June, try and wrap things up on the budget. But one thing lawmakers did accomplish was passing Brooke's Law. So joining us today, Brooke Curry, this is who the law was named for. Brooke is 18. Many people will know you when you were younger because your father was mayor, and we got to see him with his family. So this is not about Dad this time. This is about you. Help us understand, what is Brooke's Law?
Brooke's Law is making all social media platforms kind of reconstruct how they work and making it to where the program has a setting where you can contact the platform directly to get a photo taken down if posted within 48 hours.
All right, so some of us are going, what's she talking about? You went through an experience here to the level that you're comfortable. What happened there, and how did you become kind of an advocate for we need some changes?
I was out one summer night. I was 16 at the time, playing pickleball with my friends, and I had gone back to my phone after a few hours to receive a flood of notifications, finding out that this kid that I didn't know had taken a photo from my Instagram, put it through an AI generator, and basically stripped me nude and blasted it all over the internet. So then I had multiple people reaching out to me, basically saying, like, this kid has posted this, here's this photo, I think he accidentally posted it. And that's when I kind of started to panic, because not only was the photo posted, but people thought it was real.
Yeah.
So I had to go through the process of not only trying to get the photo taken down, which was a struggle in itself, but then also trying to help people understand that that was not a real photo.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, that had to crush you right at the beginning. What is going on? And then I would imagine there's a lot of questions that you would get from people that you thought, well, I knew they were going to be on my side, and now they're questioning, why did I do this? Or that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely sad and scary, because all these people, you know, that knew me and that didn't know me, that was also a really like scary part, is I had people reaching out to me that I've never spoken to or met before. So it was reaching people that I didn't know, and just sitting there having to like explain myself, and something that does not align with my reputation or morals was very sad.
Yeah, that really gets you, where it's like, why would anybody think that I would do this?
Right.
So what were some of the steps that you took, talking to parents, police, lawmakers, all of that?
Well, initially, I just wanted the photo taken down, and I wasn't with my parents, I was with friends, so I tried to take it upon myself to reach out to the kid. And at the time, I didn't have him added on any social medias, and I didn't know who he was. So
Was it a classmate, or no, somebody you just didn't know at all?
Yes. And, you know, I tried to reach out to him, and I got no response. So then I tried to reach out to his parents and got no response. So hours had passed. I didn't have any way to get in touch with anyone in his family, and the photo was still up. So then when I went home that night, you know, I was going back and forth debating, should I tell my parents, should I not? I was embarrassed, even though it wasn't real. You know, it's not something I want to go home and have to tell my parents. But I did, and my dad got on the phone with the sheriff that night and was just, you know, told him what happened. And then that's kind of when we got things rolling. And in that moment, I realized how big of a deal it was, because, you know, when I was with my friends, it was obviously a horrible situation, but I didn't know really what could be done. And then once I kind of heard from my dad and the sheriff how big of a deal it was, that's when I realized there was things that we need to do.
So individually, how long did that take you to kind of get over? Or is it something, hey, 2 years later, you're still like, oh, this still stings?
We went through the process of figuring out, you know, we did press charges, so that was a long process. And it was hard, but like over time, I was able to kind of deal with it. And there was a 2-week mark after it happened where I had kind of not forgotten about it, but I was like moving on. And then I got a call from a friend telling me she had heard that other kids still have the photo and want to release them again to embarrass me. So it was kind of just a roller coaster of like trying to get over what happened, and then hearing that the photo is going to resurface, and then, you know, going through the process of pressing charges. That was like constantly on the phone with state attorneys. But I was more happy to be, you know, taking charge and getting my voice back. And then even now, I'm very thankful that I have this voice to be able to go out and speak about this and advocate for this situation, because so many people go through it every day. But it is hard. Like, it is a constant reminder of what I had to go through, but I have to look at the bigger picture and realize that it is for the good of everyone else.
So, bigger picture, state of Florida, there's now a law that kind of inspired by you that really tries to address this. There's also maybe federal legislation. I understand that the House of Representatives just passed the Take It Down Act, which First Lady Melania Trump was pushing for, passed in the Senate in February. How do you feel about what's happened in these last few weeks, what the state lawmakers did, and what do you think that does for you and others moving forward because of this?
I've had multiple, so many people reaching out to me, basically telling me they're going, or they've been through the same thing, or their friends have been through the same thing. And that was very eye-opening to me, because you never think it's gonna happen to you until it does.
Yeah.
And the amount of people it does happen to, I'm just happy that I can finally share my story and give people an outlet to also share theirs and take back their control as well.
Yeah. There's certainly an element I've learned in life when I go through bad things. Sometimes the purpose is to help somebody else.
For sure.
When
yes.
they got to go through it too.
Yeah.
I just heard Councilman Carlucci, who was walking out, tell you thank you for your courage. I'll say that as well. Thank you for your courage, Brooke.
Thank you.
Great to get to visit with you. Thank you so much. All right, and to you, thank you for staying with us. Keep with us for this final segment. We've been told that Jacksonville's jail is outdated and inefficient. A new jail is going to be very costly. So how is it going to be paid for? Got some new information about at least one proposal on that, and Ashley Harding will tell us about it next on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
Talks of a new jail have been a hot button topic for years. There is now officially a first step in what is sure to be a long process. My colleague Ashley Harding is joining us with a story that, Ashley, you got to break this week. And I know this may be a first step of a potential move, nothing guaranteed here, but it's a bit of a baby step. What we really know is that it's going to be a huge project for the city of Jacksonville, a new jail.
It's going to be a huge project and one that's really going to take a long time. So again, it's very much in the early stages. You know, we have confirmed the mayor's office is discussing with JSO how to best move forward, and they reiterated that to me this afternoon. One thing is clear, it's going to be a big, expensive project, too, for the city of Jacksonville.
The cost of a new Duval County jail is expected to be around $1 billion. And for the first time, we're getting an idea of who could work to make it a reality. Tonight, the mayor's office confirms it received an unsolicited proposal from 3 companies for the new jail. Those companies are Sustainability Partners, Ajax Building Company, and HOK, which, by the way, HOK is the architecture and engineering firm behind the design for the Jaguars Stadium of the future. As for Sustainability Partners, according to their website, they partner with state and local governments to find alternative funding methods for infrastructure projects.
I think it's neat that there are people out there that are interested in coming in and building us a jail. That's the exciting part of this.
Councilman Ron Salem, who's long been behind the push for a new jail, is pleased to see some movement. Though we don't yet know any of the dollar figures involved in this proposal, the councilman said he wants to see multiple bids in hopes of getting the best deal.
But we just need to make sure we do it right. This will be the largest project in the history of Jacksonville, somewhere around $1 billion. I'm guessing, and we need to make sure we do it right.
As for the new jail and what it could look like, one of the biggest goals for city leaders is that it be a place where inmates can get on-site health care services and mental health services. Really, they want it to be a 50-year facility. Mayor Donna Deegan pointed out how badly a new jail is needed.
It is, frankly, got all sorts of structural issues. It is not healthy in a lot of ways inside that jail, and so we want to make sure that we provide what the community needs, in addition to making sure that we have things like mental health resources.
We also took our questions to other parts of downtown to hear from our viewers about a new jail. Sarah Sanders told me she's on board, but hopes the city will deliver on its word to make it a better place for inmates.
And I think it needs to be more about the people and not just the building itself. Like, I don't see enough from my limited experience about the rehab side of things, about getting people able to be back in society and not just making the same mistakes over and over again.
And the mayor's office says this proposal was actually received in mid-March as a description of the public-private partnership that would exist through the various stages of building a new jail, from the site search to design to construction to a lease agreement where the city is a tenant. So again, the city and JSO discussing how to move forward, whether with this proposal or a request for other proposals. But the city says either way, there will be a 45-day open competition. And that's something, once again, Councilman Ron Salem said to me, he wants this to be a competitive process. He said, as far as this proposal, unless there is a competitive process, he's not interested in it.
Yeah, and you pointed out, Ashley covers City Hall for us in Jacksonville, and you pointed out that Councilman Salem, as council president, that was one of his big initiatives. Let's start looking into what are we going to do about this aging jail a facility that might not be in the right spot considering what we want to do in downtown Jacksonville as well.
Absolutely, and we did talk to several people about that as well, real people who say, yes, this jail has prime real estate right there on the riverfront. So that is a part of the conversation, and where this jail is going to go, that's a process in and of itself, Kent.
Yeah, we've heard from JSO about, hey, it needs to be fairly close to the courthouse.
Sure.
But it doesn't have to be right on the riverfront. I wanted to touch on this also, and we talked about it in the first segment of our show today, but we've been following this story about City of Jacksonville gun registry. It documents the personal information of gun owners entering City Hall and another city building. And News4Jax obtained 3 subpoenas from the state attorney's office investigating whether a state law was broken. One requested that the logbook was maintained. Another requests emails and documents related to checkpoints and perimeter security and the policy document there. It went through at least 2 revisions in 2023. Some of the records requested date back to 2022 when the policy was first created. And so a version of that document obtained by News4Jax dated June 30th, 2023 includes a mention of the firearm logbook at city buildings. That was the last day of former Mayor Lenny Curry's term. Investigators have also subpoenaed communications from 9 current and former city employees, both the Curry and Deegan administrations. Subpoenas request emails and texts matching terms like gun, weapon, and registry. This is certainly something that Ashley and our other investigators are going to be looking at as we go forward in these subpoenas and the investigations come out. Ashley, thanks for sharing today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kent.
All right, so we're going to have Mayor Deegan with us next week. She's scheduled to be here along with U.S. Senator Ashley Moody. I'm Kent Justice. Thanks for watching on air on Channel 4 and the CW17 and online at news4jax.com.
See why every day more people are choosing News4Jax, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.